Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak. I told you there's significant developments that are happening today, including the start of the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education and the conclusion of the Kenya Junior School. Yeah, KJSEA. Kenya Junior School Education Assessment inaisha leo, and we are keeping our eyes on that. Earlier on we saw the opening of the containers that contain the materials or the examination materials that should be taken to the schools, and wish all the best to the learners as they write those examinations. Someone is asking about the situation in South Sudan. So they got independence in 2011. They have never had elections since that time. It's been 14 short years. They're still waiting. They keep postponing. But at the moment, they have at least 5 vice presidents. So that fixes a few of their concerns. But South Sudan is a member of the East African community and a signatory to the treaty that binds us in the region. So let's talk about Kenya, because we are looking for leadership. We'll be listening to what President William Ruto said sometime last week in regards to how the competition is looking ahead in 2027, because he believes that there's no serious competition that will be coming from anybody. Excuse me, I don't know why that chokes me, but let me just... No, genuinely choking.
Yeah, I'd like to choke.
Yeah, Senator Kasanga.
Fine.
Your thoughts as we look for leadership ahead of that election? What should we be looking at?
What Kenya needs, huh?
Yeah.
I think, let me first start by eulogizing the late Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. And I say, may his soul rest in peace. And for us millennials, I think all our lives he has been part and parcel of the election. So this is going to be the first election where Baba is not present.
Yep.
And that makes it very significant. From where I sit and from my view, it is going to be very significant. There are a lot of leaders who now have to show themselves, because Baba is not there,
yeah,
to pick them or to show them, you know, or to select them for the people. Now we are going to see a scenario where leaders now have to go to the people, sell themselves to the people, say what they can do for the people. And I think that's a beautiful thing for this country. Secondly, all those who have relied on Baba to name call him and call him the bad guy, again, that one now is gone. We're going to see a new kind of, we are turning the corner as a country, in my view. And for the leaders who are there, including now the opposition leaders who have to go, we're also seeing a Kenyan population that is increasingly very politically aware of what they want of their leaders. This is something I really believe. We're always debating, and you know, there are those who will say, no, it's you people in Nairobi and in the urban town centers, you're the only ones who have this scenario. Back in the village, you know, the typical politician will still reign the day. What do you call it? The empowerment projects will still bring votes.
Yeah.
But I think increasingly, Kenyans are beginning to change and are beginning to see beyond some of the political gimmicks that are happening and that have been happening, say, in the traditional sense. And they will start demanding more of their leaders. And I think this is a beautiful thing we must celebrate as Kenyans. And more importantly, Kenyans must realize that this is the sort of leadership they need. A leader who's coming to, you know, to take you, to transform your lives. Not just to stand on stage and dance for you, but really bringing solutions or sitting with Kenyans and together crafting solutions. In fact, this is one thing I like to say. Kenyans know how to solve their problems.
Yeah.
In fact, if you bring Kenyans into a room, they will tell you this is our problem, and this is how we can resolve it. And you, on a governance level, you just make things happen, because then you are on the administrative level.
Yeah.
But we have seen increasingly government and administrations not respecting what Kenyans really want. You take leadership and you assume that you are the one who knows the problem and you resolve it the way you think is best without getting the full blessing and consultation of Kenyans. And that's where I bring back the conversation on legitimacy and trust. If you cannot get the trust of the people, by sitting with them and planning their development agenda, or understanding really what is their pain point so that you can know how then to help them, then what is the point? And Kenyans must understand that going forward, the kind of leader you want is the leader who can sit with you, understand your problem, then together you resolve that problem. So the questions on public participation and the adequacy of public participation, or when memorandum go out and Parliament calls for public participation, we saw this happening especially around the affordable housing, where Kenyans reject this project, they reject these other things, but somehow the government still goes ahead and does it. You lose the trust of the people, the project will never be legitimate, and it will never be accepted. And this, again, I say, it builds up to the entire image of that leader. Kenyans now will be looking at this leader and thinking, he doesn't listen to me. He doesn't even understand my problems. What is he good for me for? So Kenyans, I am hoping that we are looking at this scenario and seeing that come 2027, we can do what is needful, get the leaders who truly are ready to sit with Kenyans, understanding their problem and helping resolve those problems. For me, that is how I look at 2027, hoping that we can begin to turn the corner. And this thing of bridging the older generation with the younger generation is also very critical. And, that inclusivity of bringing in the young people, the marginalized, the women, it is the expectation that as we go into a new era of politics and leadership in this country, we can see a more inclusive approach from our political parties especially. And this has to be deliberate and intentional. You have to pull in the young people. You have to enable and give enabling spaces for the women also to continue, because it looks like the 2/3 gender rule may be very difficult to achieve in itself. So the political parties now have to be deliberate and not just putting women in the what do you call them, in the party list just to meet the quota at ORPP, but giving them deliberate spaces where they can actually win those seats and get into parliament, so that we can achieve, the 2/3 gender. So I see...
All right, Senator. I'll come back to you for more. But first, let's hear what the President exactly had to say in regards to how he sees it.
Yaani mtu ningeshingana na yeye ni Raila Odinga. Lakini sasa hawa nitawamalizia asubuhi na mapema. Very early in the morning. Wamepotea. One term, kasongo, nini. Hiyo itabadilisha dunia hii kweli? Sio, ni ujinga. Sasa hawa jamaa, mimi nataka niwaambie. Hawa jamaa wa ukabila hawana mpango, hawana sera, hawana taratibu, hawana agenda, hata akili hawana.
Okay, as the President, let's listen to what more they said the day after, alongside Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula.
Mtu ya bere barabarani. Mtu wa kusafirishwa nyumbani mbio mbio. Ama namna gani? Ndio mimi nawaambia hawa wapinzani wangu, jameni, tulizeni boli, mambo bado.
Mtu akikuambia utoke kwa meli kubwa uende kwa kale kadogo, utashuka. Utashuka. Sasa meli kubwa ni gani?
2027 tusibahatishe. 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 Munasemaje?
That's the Speaker of the National Assembly of Kenya. Now, Sheila, when you listen to those conversations, and she raises an important point about a leader who can listen to you. The style of politics in this country is that you show up. It can be in the morning, it can be in the afternoon. Nasalimiana, you dance to a jingle, you slogania, then you speak, not about those people there, but about wale wengine. How do we turn this? Because this has been tried and tested several times and never gives us what Kenya is looking for. How do we turn it as we approach the next election?
I think, first of all, for me, when I had President Ruto talking about the fact that Baba is gone, I mean, we're very often sitting here, for some of us who like championing democracy. It was a bit painful when we were hearing that, because yes, Baba is gone, but Baba taught us so many things. He lives beyond being gone. So if you think that, just because he's not here with us, his legacy of championing democracy no longer exists, then you're completely wrong. You see, the thing is, age-old philosophy age-old philosophy has always shown that if you want to be the best leader, you win the hearts of the people. That is how you win. I think it was Machiavelli in The Prince who said, start by winning the hearts of the people. That is the one that is more sustainable. The world we live in today, leadership is about influence. It is not about authority. You work on servant leadership by getting influence from the people. That is when you get legitimacy. That is when you make your life easy. And how do you do this? You listen to the people, you affirm, you have your conviction, and you guide and you lead. I have to say, in 2022, really leading up to when President Ruto was elected, he had a very good message. I mean, he was able to tell people, Mama Mboga and the rest of you, I have this better economic plan, and I'm going to uplift you and put you somewhere very significant. Why was that selling well? Because your job as a leader is to simply take a people's vision and turn it into a reality. So when he packaged this better economic plan as a vision for the people, and he was focused more on, watu wa chini, that was very appealing. Fine, the Watu wa Pili said, let's give you a chance because, us, it's not dynasty. Us, we're going to be Mama Mbogas and Watu wa Chini, and you're given this opportunity. Now you have to take this and you transform this into a reality. This is now the test, and this is a period where I think President Ruto is, where we are waiting to see, well, are you turning this into a reality? Chest thumping, big talks, that people will not help you. Because when you're the incumbent and you're sitting in that office, you're judged very differently from people who are out there and just saying whatever they'd like to say. For you, the people look at you and tell you, we have given you the mandate. What you should do is tell us, listen, because you have given me this mandate, I have been able to transform X and taken it to Z. Why? Because this is what I had promised to do for you. For example, one of the biggest tenets of that was to say, I'm going to transform the education sector, right? So he said, listen, I'm going to come in with a good plan. I have this, new way of the new funding, model for education. It is very visionary, and I'm going to implement it. Today, how many weeks has it been since our university's students are home?
Around 6 weeks.
Okay, so for the first time, we're having our children home for over 2 months. I am a woman. When you keep children home for 2.5 months, young girls, we are about to see a sharp rise, in early pregnancies. School for us is not just a place where we go and learn, it's also a safe haven for our children. And when we don't have a proper kind of environment or community where we can feed these children well, where we can keep them away from child labor, where we protect our girls from early pregnancies, then it becomes a risk factor when we don't have that school system to shield us from it, right? I'm saying these things to say, there are some good things that, President Ruto is doing, and there are some that he's really doing amiss with it. It's not important now to campaign when you have the office. You work. You work, and then you demonstrate to us that, listen, I said I'm moving you from A to Z, and this is how we've been able to transform and move. But most importantly, Sam, you listen. Kenya today will respond to servant leadership. It will not respond to an authoritative figure. And I can tell you for free, the days where you're describing of people coming up and dancing the best out of everybody else and getting elected, those are finished. Why? Because you asked me, today we are going through an economic revolution, and what we need is an economic emancipation. Whoever will lead that. And by the way, the one thing I agree with President Ruto is, right now, for me, I look at it as it's a very open slate. There's no clear front runner to whoever will lead this country in 2027. So even he has an opportunity to go back again and still lead the country, right? But so does any other person. Whoever will lead the frontier of this economic emancipation, whoever will capture this youth bulge, this big disillusionment that we are feeling as young people in this country, that is the one that will carry the day.
I'll come back for more because what you just said, the last statement, and you rightly said that William Ruto captured the thoughts and minds of Kenyans. 3 years later, are the minds and hearts still captured? Let's first hear from the opposition leaders on what they said responding to those sentiments by the president.
Umesikia yale Ruto amesema jana, na anasema eti hawa watu hawana akili, hawana agenda. Alisema hakusema? Mbona anasema ati sisi hatuna akili? Sisi ni madarau jamani? Tuko tunasema hivi, tarehe 27 Novemba haki ya Mungu hii madharau itakwisha. Kupitia kura yenu haki ya Mungu hii madharau itakwisha.
Anakuja analaunchia hapa Malava. Alafu anaenda anapotea baada ya miezi 3, anaenda analaunchia tena na Waholo. Na ni barabara hiyo. Alafu tena anapotea miezi 4, anaenda analaunchia kule Mumias East.
Ruto, you are not reminding these people ile yenye mimi na wewe na Malala tulikubaliana. Tulikubaliana kwamba utatengeneza 1000 kilometers of road. Sasa kufikia sasa hata kilomita 1 hapa Rieland bado hujafanya.
Now, that is the minority. No. He's the majority what? Majority whip, yes, at the Senate. Boni Khalwale reminding the president of things that he has promised before. Evans, what do you do with this information? Because politicians, they really know so much, but they decide how to use it in managing the expectations of Kenyans. What do we do?
Well, I have to confess that my stomach constantly churns at the sight of a majority of these Kenyan politicians. They are vacuous, lack in terms of principle, and really the most wretched, the most vile of citizens that we may have. Leadership has a history, and those of us who watch animal documentaries, you will see that even in the animal kingdom, only the best, the strong leads. I don't know why is it that we Homo sapiens, particularly in Africa and in Kenya, get the West to lead us. That having been said, it will be remiss of me as a lawyer not to remind 2 individuals that I've seen in those videos. The CS in charge of foreign affairs, Musalia Mudavadi. By the Constitution, he is not supposed to indulge in politics. He needs to sit out, he needs to be quiet. He's not a politician. According to the law, according to the Constitution, he's supposed to be neutral, not indulging in partisan politics. The Speaker of the National Assembly, he is still a party leader for Kenya, which is a problem, and that thing is still in court. It's being litigated. The Speaker should not indulge in partisan politics. He needs to be neutral. And the reason from a constitutional point of view is that these offices, the Speaker ought to be a symbol of sense, a symbol of rationality. The Cabinet Secretary, we have adopted what we call in political science and in law, the American presidential model, whereby Cabinet Secretaries ought to be ideally public servants. And public servants, civil servants, are controlled and their conduct is mediated by Chapter 6 and Chapter 12 of the Constitution. So you're supposed to be neutral, you're supposed to be the voice of reason, not indulging in partisan politics. That having been said, what is leadership? Leadership is mindset, behavior that align people in a collective direction. It enables the citizens to work together to accomplish shared goals and helps them to adjust to changing environments. That's what leadership is about. You motivate, as Sheila was saying here, you motivate the people, you work with them. 2 quick examples in history. The year is 1933. Between 1933 and 1938, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the Democratic nominee, and a lady called Frances Perkins conjure what we call the New Deal. America is coming out of the Depression, the economy is bad, it's a crime haven, Al Capone and all this. These two create what we call the New Deal. And the New Deal is responsible for changing the fortunes of America. Domestically, the economy is rebirthed, and America from the 40s emerges as the strong power it has been for the last 60 or so years. Let's go to China. Chairman Mao falters by what he called the Great Leap Forward. These were reforms that he brought in 1958 to 1962. Those reform measures were chaotic and catastrophic. It led to the collapse of food production and led to famine. Chairman Mao exits in an ignominious way. Who succeeds Mao? Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping studies the world, and he realizes that if we continue to be insular and continue with the Maoist ways in terms of economics and in terms of politics, we are going to fail. We are not going to be that strong country. So what does Deng Xiaoping bring on the table? He leads reforms in 4 key areas: agriculture, industry, science and technology, and defense. Those reform measures by Deng Xiaoping are responsible to a great extent to what China is. Remember, in the 70s and early 80s, the predominant mode of transport in China was bicycles. Today, China has transformed things, and China has churned, is it 500 new cities today? China is leading in, look at every parameter, science and technology. We are now in what we call the 6th quantitative wave. China is leading in AI and AI technology, electric vehicle production. It's the lead trading nation. And that was a country that was struggling just some 56 years ago. Yeah. Leadership, you envision and you lead people towards a path. The problem with Kenya is that our politics is manned and shepherded by people who are decrepit, and they believe that conjuring these satires and these things they do for social media is enough to convince some of us. You may be stupid for some time, but we are not stupid for all. We are not stupid for all the time. Bob Marley. So the people of Kenya are alive and are seeing what you people have been doing. We are being told that we are going to beat so-and-so hands down. The question is, what is happening to this country right now? Lecturers have been away from classes for about 2 months. Health is nothing to talk about. That is internally. Kenya has been strong geopolitically for some time now. We used to lead in terms of tourism, the economy. We used to take it for granted that we were the big boy in the region. Yep. Today we are being overtaken by Rwanda. Our population is increasing at an exponential rate. In terms of arable land, Kenya is the most land-scarce country in the region, per capita. We are a net importer of food. That is a problem for the future. It's going to be a security and a social concern. The question is, what are the leaders, these people competing for public office, doing to prepare for this imminent catastrophe?
Important questions that you raised there. And just in case anyone forgot, important that you also add, currently there are challenges in different sectors in the country. And there's a leadership elected to solve those problems, but that is not happening. Let's listen to what Professor Kithure Kindiki said in the company of ODM leaders while campaigning for a seat.
Wale ambao wanatuleta katika mambo ya siasa, ukiwaona waambie mambo bado. Mambo bado. Mambo bado. Wawache kimbelembele. Wawache kiherehere. Rais Ruto akituongoza, captain wetu akituongoza Rais Ruto, tukisaidiana na viongozi wote wa broad based, hao watu wako na kimbelembele saa hii ya siasa, wataona siku mrefu na kuambia. Kwa heshima ya ule mkataba ambao uliwekwa, candidate wetu ni mmoja, na ni huyu kijana ambayo ni Boyd Were, ambaye tunasema leo ndiye candidate wetu wa broad based.
Huyu kijana Boyd Were. Huyu kijana Boyd Were. Huyu kijana wetu huyu. Si huyu ni rika yangu.
He was unequivocal that he left us inside the broad-based government. And therefore, as a party, we will be inside the broad-based government.
Kuna wajinga wengine na wakora na walaghai wanaongea kila pali hapa Kenya, ambayo wanasema ati sasa chama ya ODM imekwisha, chama ya ODM sasa imeenda sijui nini. Hawa wenyewe wanaongea namna hiyo, hajawahi chaguliwa popote.
Tukiongea mambo ya uchaguzi inakuja, tuko na hakika that wakati wa Kenya wengine watampatia nafasi ya kurudi kwa awamu ya pili,
Wakaazi wa hapa Kasipul na Homa Bay wanasema aje?
So many speakers, including Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo. He's the Principal Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government.
Should it be doing politics?
Good question. At the same time, so do you know the name of the candidate for that seat?
The ODM seat?
Yes, based on all the speeches, do you know who the candidate is?
Yeah, because I interact with politics, yes, I know.
Okay.
Boyd Were.
Okay, the point I'm making here, there's no mention of that candidate.
No, there's none.
Even his agenda to the people of Kasipul is not known.
It's not in question.
But it's huyu kijana huyu.
Yes.
And he's young, and he's the age mate of Kimani Ichung'wah, which is not correct. It is not true. They're not age mates. At the same time, if you look at the front page of the Daily Nation, Oburu says it's DP or nothing. DP Kithure Kindiki is standing there with a team from the ODM party. And he says, those who want to bring us politics don't. Mambo bado. But I wonder, what is he doing?
He's doing politics, of course. And Sam, before I come to the challenges of the good professor, let me have a take at the issue of leadership and the leadership we need. You know, first, I don't think Kenya has a shortage of leaders, and you have played a series of them here, you know, and we have elected 1,450 MCS. We have a Senate of over 60, a Parliament, a National Assembly of over 300, and many areas. I think what the country lacks is great leaders. And we must be very clear on what starkly distinguishes good leaders from great leaders. I would want to agree that President Ruto, for instance, may not be looking at competition, but then starkly reminded by my own high school principal, who always quipped that you cannot be tall among dwarfs. And if it's a race of what we're seeing, then he's quietly correct. It is principally correct that a leader needs to know what to do. But it is equally important for a leader to know what not to do and what to stop doing. And to that extent, I partially agree with the President Ruto that I only hear about Tupange, what to do. But what Kenyans want him to stop doing and what Kenyans do not want him to do, he's not even himself acutely aware. And when I look at the other side of the aisle, he could actually be correct. Kenyans are not looking for leaders to manage crisis. Kenyans are looking at leaders capable with the courage, the conviction, and the commitment to transform systems. We have settled for the good enough. The good enough cannot take us to the next level, and that is what Sheila is saying, and that's what Senator is talking about. We lack the paradoxical blend between the personal humility and the professional will to drive this transformation. And these are things that really Kenyans are looking out for. And to that extent, maybe character-wise, but in terms of us again going out the old way, you know, I was very impressed by Sheila when she said economists are not just looking at economy alone, because this political economy things that we have to look at, and that is clear that even in terms of strategic leadership, the old approach of let us decide the vision and the strategy and then go forward is also shifting. That we must, as Kenyans, begin asking ourselves, how do we get the right people on the bus, on board, offload the wrong people, and make sure that the right people on the bus are actually in the right seats, so that they can determine the right direction to go, to drive. Unfortunately, back to the biggest dog syndrome, is that we have a leadership, whether in political parties or in the executive, that want to surround themselves with people who are slightly less than them so that they remain the biggest dog, you know, in the kennel. And that is where we are. If you look at clearly, and this has come out, you have a scenario where the cabinet meets and the president himself has come out and said his principal secretaries that run ministries, his own CSS, no less than he does. That is the biggest indicator of wanting to be the biggest dog in the kennel. Then why do you have them? All right, when the cabinet should be the advisory to the president. Right. And these are the inherent challenges that we face. And therefore, character-wise, I may differ with him that if you look at people like Kalonzo Musyoka, for instance, just saying Maraga, could be differently in terms of character to William Ruto. They are the complete antithesis to President William Ruto in terms of just the personality. But when you go to the appreciation and the depth and the width of understanding of what to do, what not to do, what to stop doing, all right, I actually do not draw the line in the sand. And to that extent is correct. Now, to the challenges of number two and the other things. I think historically, the most insecure position in Kenya's political history is the deputy position. All right, whether you are a deputy governor, whether you are an assistant chief, you know, whether you are a deputy president, that has been an issue. And because we organize our politics in terms of numbers and in terms of whether you come around with a wallet or a bag or a briefcase, I think from the word go, the way it is looking like, if the mountain is continuing to be slippery, then Kindiki may be challenged. Yeah. I may not know his pockets, but I also know possibly the reasons why he was left out of the running position in 2022, and someone else was given. Mm-hmm. Those issues are going to rise again. So for him, it is up to him to confirm to the boss that he has the ingredients to make sure that he delivers a victory. That is his job, and he knows how to do it. I think I am beginning to be impressed by Oburu. Right, because he's placing ODM capably where both the ones that are two-term and the ones that are, you know, suspecting that supporting William Ruto may, you know, boomerang on them negatively. And he's trying to tiptoe and walk carefully on eggshells and putting in measures, because when you go to a slaughterhouse, Sam, you have to carry your own knife so that you don't end up with the intestines and you know, things that you need to clean for long, because you will not wait for someone else to give you a knife to cut off the steak. Okay. And that is what Oburu is doing, right? Going to a slaughterhouse with his own knife to make sure that the president knows from the word go that we are supporting you, then we're coming in for number two. But then that presents a bigger problem. Gladys Wanga is waiting as the senior-most ODM woman leader in the wings, all right? The two, Pio and I and John Mbadi, are also looking at, you know, embracing the prince, and possibly even Oburu himself. You know, retirement for politicians is not, I would not be far-fetched if William Ruto picks Oburu as a running mate, because you cannot negotiate and just hand over that willfully. So these are things that are not important to me as it is. All right. What is important to me now is what is it that separates, differentiates, distinguishes William Ruto from the others on what to do, what not to do, and what should we stop doing to transform.
We're still looking for leaders.
Great leaders. We don't have a shortage of leaders.
Great leaders, you say. Let's listen to one of them, who is a former deputy president. He has a big problem. Watch what it is.
Mimi huzuni yangu ni wale ambaye watu wanatoka hapa mlimani wanatembea na Gethenji, akitukana sisi kama jamii, akituita wakabila, akitukosea heshima, akisema sisi ni roho chafu. Sasa umefika pahali unatuma ile mtu yako ya standard 3 anatukana sisi, anatukana jamii yetu akisema sisi ni roho chafu. Alikuwa pale akasema Uhuru Kenyatta ni roho chafu, akasema Rigathi Gachagua ni roho chafu, akasema Martha Karua ni roho chafu.
Yeah, and there's another one. I want us to listen to him also, speaking about when he was mourning Raila Odinga, as he continues to praise the former, or rather the late leader, as having left quite a rich legacy when it comes to managing a political party. Rigathi Gachagua, watch.
Look at the political party that he built called ODM. A strong political party that though he has never been elected president, he is able to get into every government and get what he wants. All the legislators are top-notch lawyers. These are the people who have protected Raila Odinga for 30 years. Tom Ojieda, Okongo Mgeni, Mohamed Faki, and Babu Owino. Great minds. Then nyinyi munanipatia Kawanjiko, wa Matinga, wa Makeki.
Okay. Kawanjiko came out yesterday and he defended himself, that said that he's on the side of God. But it's important to also note that when Kiambaba election was conducted, I think it was in the year 2020 or thereabout, it is Rigathi Gachagua who went to Kiambaa and told the people that they must elect Kawanjiko to deal with Uhuru Kenyatta. Now he has seen the light. How does that happen, Evans?
Politicians are usually a very special breed, and the Kenyan one is a particularly difficult animal to understand. They morph like hydras. Today, they assume the yellow hue of a chameleon, and when the context and circumstances apply, otherwise, they will take blue and any other color. That's the Kenyan politician. What is important for me, because I find no pleasure in any intellectually stimulating attribute of Kenyan politics, so I tend to avoid it all through. My mentor, Professor PLO Lumumba, tells me that these politicians don't know when to exit the scene. Yeah. Anyway, what are the attributes of leadership that we need to look at? We need to look at who has to be able to influence and guide us effectively to avoid the challenges we are facing as a country, who bears the vision and the goals of the country in terms of decision making, who is making the good decisions, the better decisions for the country, who is empowering us. And of all the presidents we have seen, or at least I'm a millennial like the senator, all the presidents that I have seen in my lifetime, Mwai Kibaki gave us examples of this, and within 6 months of Mzee Kibaki coming in, the politics was messy, but in terms of changing things, the economy, we could tell that things were changing. And one thing that Kibaki taught me is that he worked in silence. We didn't see him much on TV, but the team that was around him, I am informed that he had the ability to identify talent, and sometime he got it right, bringing in people from even international organizations to help him steer the country. That is what I would want to see for us now, because like I said, we are facing an existential threat. We are a net importer of food, and most importantly, and this should worry all these politicians, we are sitting in between a phenomenon, an economic phenomenon, and Sheila is better placed to speak to this, what we call the contractive wave. The contractive wave for the listener or the viewer is a phenomenon that creates a radical change in the economy owing to change in technology. We are now I'm told we are doing the 6th wave of the quantitative wave. The 5th wave that we had before was characterized by information and telecommunication, internet progress. Now we have moved to the 6th wave, which will be driven by the digital, clean energy, human-centered technology, the AI and all that, which will mean that a growing population will be faced by incapacity. You are trained in ICT, but the next phase will demand a new skill set. What are we doing to prepare the youth, to equip them to be competitive? Rwanda is doing that. And Rwanda is modeling itself as the new Slovenia, as the new Silicon Valley for the region. And it's tapping onto the best of our talents to show up its economy. What are we doing in this country? Hamna akili. The blueprint for the economy is something that I don't know. Sheila has an idea about it. I cannot tell what this blueprint is all about.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is facing an existential threat. The thinking, the vision, I don't understand. Let me question some of these decisions we make. I heard the other day that we are selling Kenya Pipeline. If I were president, I would really be slow to do that. Because for me, Kenya Pipeline is a strategic national security asset. It's a supplier of last resort. Oil continues to be a significant feature of the Kenyan economy. Why would I want to privatize that? Those are the decisions people make. And we think we are going to compete with the region, Kenyan politicians.
Now, Senator,
yes.
Because we have said that leaders need to capture the imagination of the people. What then is the responsibility of the people themselves? Because if President William Ruto has looked and seen that there's no competitor, so it's going to be him, assuming he's right, what is the responsibility of Kenyans to demand accountability and to ensure that these are the leaders, MCAs, MPs, governors, so they don't come to tell us, like Wilbur Otichilo told us, is it yesterday or the day before, that you have agreed that all governors were in the broad-based government, and he leads one himself.
Yes, politicians. I think Evans has captured it very well. Let me bring in something first that has been on my mind for a long time. The violation of our Constitution that has systematically been happening since the promulgation of the Constitution. Meaning we as Kenyans have never really realized the full potential of our Constitution. And we see it on a daily basis. And Kenyans, the young people, when they came out to the streets, they have gone and educated themselves because the government stopped doing civic education anyway. So civic education is happening amongst the population themselves, thank God, through our social media connections and how, young people in Kenya are. So we are educating ourselves and we are realizing that our Constitution has been violated systematically since the promulgation. We celebrate a wonderful Constitution which we have never really realized its full potential. So what must we do as Kenyans? First, we have to really listen. What are these leaders offering? What are they carrying with them? Are they people who are respectful of the Constitution in whichever spaces that they exist currently? Because that already is a telltale sign. Whatever you do, wherever you are you respectful of the Constitution as it is? Are you a fighter for the Constitution? Are you a fighter for devolution? All right? Because right now, we are worried. It's true what Evans is saying. It's an existential threat as we speak right now. We are seeing a clawback of devolution itself. We have the arms of government which no longer represent the people, like the parliament, which is no longer representing the people. And we have many instances for that. Of course, we can say there are good things, there are bad things, but largely, the trust. The trust factor is missing where parliament is concerned, where the executive is concerned. Kenyans are running now to the judiciary. You can see Okiya Omutata, who sits in parliament himself. We thought now that he's in parliament, he might not need to go to court. Yep. But see Okiya Omutata, senator, now has to still go to court. So we are left with one arm of government to save Kenyans, like literally. We are going to court for everything. Even, I can tell you, in the built environment where we operate as architects, even approval of buildings, we are taking issues to court for such matters, which tells you there is a true breakdown of what our Constitution should look like. It is really imperative for Kenyans to understand that we have to fight for this constitution, and we have to do our mandate as Kenyans, which is vote. Yani, it is what the constitution has built for us. This is the way to administration, this is the way to govern ourselves, is through the vote. So we must participate in that sense. We have to participate in our political parties. So we have to choose which are these political parties that really espouse, you know, the vision of us as Kenyans. And we support those. We have to really listen to the leaders. And let's forget about the drama. Let's forget about the name calling. When I see, you know, leaders and their national leaders calling out names to other national leaders who are leaders of other people, it is really unfortunate. You know, the president is supposed to be a uniting factor. Yeah, his rhetoric is that which should be calming Kenyans down and, you know, getting Kenyans to go to work. But we have been in a constant election mode from the president himself. When are Kenyans going to settle down and actually work? In fact, if you look, I pulled out the KRA numbers just yesterday. These are the numbers from 2024 to 2025. If you look at our domestic tax, VAT, and pay as you want, very little growth. Very little growth. There's more growth in, you know, imports and exports. We are not expanding the space in which VAT and pay as you want is being of course, is earning the KRA. And what does that mean? It means the businesses are suffering, they're struggling. There's no growth, there's no sign of growth. We are not expanding that tax base as it is. And because of all the other things we could debate about here today, the expensive imports and everything, that was also telling why young people don't have jobs. We are not creating the manufacturing enough to expand that tax base. We are really suffering as Kenyans. And Kenyans, what you must do is you have to get your votes. You get your voter's card. Young people, we are really depending on you. That 8 million block should come from the young people. We are really depending on the young people to get their voters' cards, to get their ID cards, and to be on the lineup in 2027 and make the right decision. But really appreciate what does the Constitution mean for us, and choose leaders who can respect the Constitution so that we can begin to feel the fullness of the Constitution, which we've never really felt as Kenyans.
All right. Sheila, I'm out of time, but please, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts, and especially on leadership and young people, is just to encourage us. Because every day, sometimes I feel like we had gone through a space where we thought we were effecting change, and then we are managed, and we feel like we are silenced. And then you see our neighbors, on the other hand, kind of outshining us and fighting for a better country. For the young people out there, I mean, one of my favorite thoughts in leadership is, if you cannot do great things, we cannot all be presidents and MPs and women reps and the rest of them. Do small things in a great way. You are small, reading through the privatization bill, understanding it and discussing with the next person, picking your neighbor to go and register to vote, you know, going out and making sure you're doing public participation and taking responsibility for this country. Because believe it or not, the decisions they're making today, us, our children, our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will have to pay for the decisions that they're making now. So let us not feel like our voices don't matter.
Okay. All right, I think we have to close it at that point. Feedback at Citizen TV Kenya. Sam Gituko, the hashtag Tuesday Citizen Daybreak, on what Kenyans are saying to the conversations we've had about Tanzania as well as the situation in the country. Frank Orende, you're saying that when the president says he has no competition, the question is, where is the opposition? A weak, divided opposition leaves power unchecked and citizens voiceless. Kenya doesn't lack critics. It lacks a credible alternative with vision and courage. Kenya will miss Raila Odinga. Gabi Wakasiaka, Raila's exit has exposed how fragile our politics really is, built more on personalities than ideology. Maybe now the country can start Kenya's next parliament, the country can start redefining politics beyond tribes and kingpins. Kenya's next parliament will look nothing like what we've known. Then Babu Michael, as we head to 2027 and after watching what is happening in Tanzania, we must be very careful as a country, taking note of the leaders we have as at now, their sentiments and behavior. I wonder why a president may say wengine hawana akili. Very unnecessary. And then again, Franco Rinta, when CSs and speakers openly dive into partisan politics, they violate the very constitution they swore to uphold. Public offices and campaign tools, they are instruments of service. They must choose rule of law over political loyalty. Finally, Sir Nixon Ndugire, good Kenyans, let's say no to electoral or political violence, because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. So help us God. That's what you're saying. Now, the previous viewer raises a good point about confusion of roles and offices, as well as what Evans was saying. But remember, every governor who appears at a political rally saying that they are in government actually heads one. Because there are 48 governments in Kenya, 47 county and one national. Thank you so much, Franklin. Thank you so much, Senator Sylvia. Thank you, Sheila, as well as Wakili Evans, for making time for us to have this conversation. Up next is Sporty Monday. My name is Sam Gituku. See you again soon.